Welcome to the late March, early April edition of CityBiz, coming to you as we roll on into spring. My name is Melinda Arndt. I am joined here with our intrepid councilman. I don't know if intrepid is the right word, but he is with us through thick and thin, Michael Halley. Are we having technical difficulties?
Nope. I think I just didn't want to interrupt your beautiful introduction.
Well, we have a fair amount to talk about today in matters both internal and external. That means indoors and outdoor activities. Starting off with what turned out to be a very large city council meeting, second to the last Monday of the month, the most recent Monday when we're taping this, concerning number of issues, but kicking off with the mask policy at the Park and Rec.
Yep. So one of the council members brought this as an issue at our last meeting, our first meeting in March, but we didn't have a public hearing set up. So it was just basically a report from our Park and Rec director and the chairperson of the Parks and Rec board that advises our director on their plan to keep the mask policy for the indoor rec center in place at least through March, and then review it at their April 5th meeting, first Monday in April. And they had some very sound reasons for saying, you know, we want to give time for our 65 and older users of the facility time to get vaccinated. And so if everything goes according to plan, then about 50% of that group would be vaccinated by early April. And perhaps we can see the mask mandate then be lifted for the indoor rec center. So at that last council meeting, I would say the mood of the council was, you know, we wanted to support our appointed board and our director who we hired to go ahead and make that decision for that department themselves. However, if a citizen or a user of the facility wanted to appeal that decision, they can come to council. So we went ahead and set up a public forum, which was the first item after our consent agenda at our late March meeting. And so a public forum is not a debate. It's just an opportunity for people to express their views. And so we heard from a number of people who feel very strongly and claim to have scientific evidence that masks are pointless. They don't do anything to stop the spread of COVID. And then we heard from people who really appreciate that the Park and Rec Center has that mask policy in place so that they can go there and feel safer. So at the end of that public hearing, there really wasn't a council debate. And I think it most likely is because we had talked about it previously. And we had one council member make a motion to change the policy. Not get rid of it, but I think it was just wear the mask while you're coming in. But once you get to where you're exercising, you can remove it, which isn't a terrible compromise, but wasn't something anyone seconded. So the motion died. And then a motion was made just to support the Park and Rec's board and director's decision and to maintain the mandate or the mask policy through until their next meeting in April. So a strange result of this is that these videos that we're making now and the council videos that are streamed live and then posted and archived on the Fairfield Media Center YouTube channel, the channel is now flagged and, well, was. By the time this is posted, it will be open again, but it was actually shut down for a week for breaking the community standards of YouTube because YouTube found that a lot of the comments made by the citizens who were against the mask mandate were considered misinformation, COVID misinformation, and they have very strict policies about not spreading misinformation. So it's sad that occurred. You can have different opinions about it, but moving forward, we have to be more careful in these videos of not posting that kind of stuff if we want to keep the YouTube channel open. And it's important that it stays open. It's one of the major ways that we communicate with our citizens.
So segueing from that, and thanks for making that point, And bringing that report for those of us who were not among the nearly 100 people at that meeting. That's why we do these CityBiz. How about the 2020 Police Department report?
Yeah, every year our police chief gives a report of statistics breaking down for the previous year. So 2020 was interesting. Crime in general was quite significantly down. Calls for service were the lowest they'd been in 10-year period. So our police chief said we'd like to take credit for that, but really it was COVID. You had fewer people interacting with people. You know, people were just more isolated, and so there were fewer opportunities, I suppose, for crime. Traffic stops and citations were also down because our police force had a lot of new members or new officers who were in training. So we were really understaffed during a lot of last year. And when you're understaffed, you can't do patrols as much. And patrols are where you would catch somebody speeding, going through a stoplight or stop sign, you know, so those traffic stops and citations were down as well. And then assaults were up a little bit. Burglary was up a little bit, you know, gun charges. These were not major, like 10-year high numbers. It's just kind of somewhat random from year to year, but across the board, crime was way down. So it's again, one of those things that you can't say COVID was good because it's not, but these little funny silver linings where because people were more isolated and not out and about as much, there was less crime.
So, and this brings us to the outdoor section of our report to you. And glad to know that we can get out and about more, and hopefully that does not raise the crime level. But these are all about some of our parks, the next couple of sections, starting with Lamson Woods, the management plan for that. Yeah,
so Lamson Woods is a state preserve, but it's also owned by the city and managed by our Parks Department. And state preserves have to have a management plan in place that allows for certain types of activities. So when it became a state preserve in the 1970s, a temporary kind of 70s era plan was put in place that never got replaced by a real management plan. So that temporary plan has been the only plan it's ever had. And in the 70s, the idea, the state preserves and Department of Natural Resources really favored what they call no touch. So you don't touch anything. You don't remove invasive species. You don't plant natives. You don't do anything. That approach has been proven not to be the best approach because it allows non-native species to propagate, which kind of choke out the native species. And it can sometimes, you can get overcrowding where trees are growing really close together and blocking the sun from the next generation of trees. So there's a number of things that intervention is actually helpful for the health and well-being of the forest. And so a local citizen, actually whose father initially helped make the deal to get this as a preserve, it was the Plum family. His son reached out to me about this, and it just so happened that the DNR had recently commented about the need for a plan out there. So the city kind of revamped our Arbor Committee. We got 4 new members who joined one of the members who'd been there a while. And the member who stayed on was Ray Len, who's the district forester, DNR district forester. So he wrote the majority of a management plan, and then the rest of us kind of added to it and filled it out. So now we have one, and we're going to have the Park and Rec Board look at it and approve it because, again, it's their property, or that's part of the parks that they oversee. And then it goes to the State Preserves Board. Hopefully they'll like it and approve it. And once they do, we'll be able to come in and start taking out some of the non-native species and maybe do a controlled burn. And then you can even do some woodland management that involves very systematically removing only certain trees that are overcrowding or casting too much shade. So you'll see some activity out there, but it really is best practices to ensure that future generations enjoy a very healthy and as much native species as possible preserved. Because it's gotten, I'd say, less that way since the 70s. There are fewer native species. There's more the natives are dying, and you're getting a lot of this kind of weedy undergrowth. And so we want to get in there and clean it up.
Well, at least I can report personally that having taken a bike ride through there last Sunday, at least the ground is pretty dry. That it's nice that there's water in the wetlands now, and so I will look forward to seeing the transformation as I continue bike riding on our wonderful trails. And moving on to another park I passed through on the bike ride, Chautauqua Park, where the old restroom, which had not been open to the public for some time, is now gone. It was demolished, the A-frame that was there. And so we have some plans on that, or we will have some plans.
Yep, plans are in the works. So what we had was a donor, a very generous donor, gave money to the Park and Rec Foundation, which supports the Park and Rec Department, and really stipulated we need new bathrooms in Chautauqua and in another park that we'll mention. But instead of just doing bathrooms, what they're looking at in Chautauqua is a bathroom with a city office and lockers on the other side of it. And I'll just give some dates. The buildings that are out there now, which is the Parks Department maintenance shed that has their office and area. Original building built in 1965. An addition was made in 1970, and then another addition was made in 2000. So the newest part of that is 21 years old, and the other parts, are over 50 years old. So it really needs to be looked at. And as you said, that A-frame building, everyone has a lot of memories of that, and it was kind of cute and quaint, but it was non-functional for so many years. So until this new facility is designed, priced out, approved by Park and Rec Foundation, and built, there'll be porta potties at Chautauqua, which is how it's been for at least a few years now. And then we can roll over into Waterworks if you like. So that was another one that was listed as a place that needs new bathroom. I don't know the date of those bathrooms out there. They're kind of like a bomb shelter style bathroom, really, really solid, but it's kind of sketchy. You go inside and there's no natural light. And that's a popular park. There's that shelter by the pond is super popular in the summer. You'll see people out there grilling and such all the time. So again, instead of just building a restroom, the plan is for a restroom / shelter with a little kitchenette that can be rented out. So people can rent a little kitchenette, and then there'll be a door that opens to an open shelter area with a bunch of, I think, 12 tables. So you could have a relatively good sized crowd out there. And then the restroom building, the new restrooms will be attached to that. So pretty exciting. These are really important projects for these parks. I remember when Calvin Todd, our park director, when first started, maybe 2015, 16, somewhere around there, he recognized the bathroom at Waterworks was a major issue. It's kind of to the point where you kind of don't want to use it. You only use it if you really, really have to. But it's so solidly built. There is an idea of, instead of demolishing it, just kind of opening it up and leaving a spigot and a drain for cleaning fish. So then the people who like to go out and fish can come in and rinse off in there. So we'll see what comes of it, but a couple of exciting projects for our parks. That's pretty cool.
Thanks for that update. That's the weather is coming. The weather is coming so soon when we will be increasingly out at Waterworks Park or Bonneville Lake. Instead of just walking, it'll be warm enough to swim. Are you going to take your traditional April 1st plunge?
So that was a COVID tradition. I just did it last year. It was the only time I've ever done it on April 1st. No promises this year. It was a strange time looking back a year ago when we were all isolated, and maybe I was going a little stir crazy. So we'll see if it becomes a 2-year tradition or not. But I will say that some progress was made on Petra Park, and it is possible, weather pending, that we could film our next City Biz in the park.
I am excited for that.
No
That would
promise.
be very cool.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be great fun. So since you're going to be seeing this in early April anyway, we'll be closer to that reality. We'll surprise you. We'll let you know where we're coming from when we do it. Very cool. Yeah. I've been noticing and thinking, ooh, pretty soon, picnic time in Petra Place.
Yeah, it's coming. They're chipping away at it. There's been a lot of rain lately, but I think they could get done by then. We'll see.
Well, thanks for all these updates. I am a citizen at large here in Fairfield, Melinda Arndt. So happy to interview you every month. Michael, you're the one with all the info for us about CityBiz. Thanks.
You're welcome.
And
Do it.
I guess we'll see you in another month.
Yep. See you next time.
Peace out.